Hey, it's Lomantini Lit Up, and here's what I'm lit up about. If I can be lit up about anything right now, this has been one crazy month, very crazy month. And I wanted to put this out there because the previous two podcasts that we did were talking about surviving suicide and all the crap in between. And they were not self-serving. I want to make sure that everybody knows that there is no glorification in those videos. That it was just my desire to share my experience of what I went through and how we can help others get through it and not go to the extent that I did. Because, you go to the extent of something and you get kind of dark and you don't, even though you've got all these people that want to help you, you've got the 988 and you've got the 800 number and you've got family and you've got pastors, you've got all these people that want to help you. And even though I had all that help and I even had previously talked to everybody about it, but I still went ahead and did it anyway. And I have to ask God why. And the only answer I could have from him is he wants me to share and help others. And so in that effort to do that, it's been interesting to see some of the reactions from certain people out there, and you know who you are, that they think that they know who I am now because they did some digging and they've seen what happened to me 20 plus years ago. And of course that, you know me now, okay. So don't be digging into other people's past unless you want other people to kind of dig into yours, because I've heard enough about that. So, but I never judged you. We're going to leave this right here. But that was not self-promotion. So I wanted to get on here because the real crux of this whole problem is what happened a month ago, almost to the day. I think 2 days or something like that. So we're so close. It's about a month. And how my journey went from just shock. And that's another thing too, that first video we did, if you want to know what happened a month ago, watch the video podcast dated 2/12/23 on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. And that'll tell you pretty much everything. In my mind wasn't right. I'm still in shock. But not like I was. But at that moment with Greg on the podcast, trying to process what happened and what happened still blows my mind today. And I still almost don't even believe it happened. But I mean, it is what it is, and I take care of it and pay the price, do whatever I got to do. But during that time, my mind wasn't right, and I find it funny how I was being criticized because I used the F word and stuff like that, and self-promotion. I was narcissistic. It was all about me. You can run, but you can't hide. I'm not really sure what that quote was all about, but who's hiding? No one's hiding. In fact, I'm trying to face it, and say, listen, this happened and then this happened. So here we are today. This is the chapter I'm in. I want to help people that are chapter behind me so they don't have to go the extent that I did. And this is a domestic issue, and domestic issues are very serious, and there's red flags all the time. Sometimes we pay attention to them. Sometimes we don't. Do I have some problems that I need to address? Yes. Do we all have some problems? Yes. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody else, but this is a relationship. And there is nothing I wouldn't do to try and save it. Counseling, whatever, therapy, whatever, sacrifice. I do anything to save that marriage of 4 years. I've known her for 5, and it was just one of those relationships where we finished each other's sentences, finished each other's thoughts, and it was just a great time. We had just finished a great ski trip, came back, and then, anyway. So I'm in territory I'm not really familiar with. I seemed very comfortable with the surviving and suicide and all the crap in between, because there's a lot of crap in between, and I am writing a book of the same name, Surviving Suicide and All the Crap in Between. And that book should be finished here in the next couple of days. But it's really my journey in life and, an understanding, having a true base value, having a real core, true value relationship with yourself, so that you can have that with someone else, and I thought I had that. And regardless of what you think by digging into my past, that you've found something that nobody else knows. And I'll clue you in, she knew everything. Everything. And that's, I think, what hurt the most is after what had happened and then all the other things that were said. And it was like, you know what? I trusted you and I gave you, wow. Okay. That's okay. That's what brought us here right now. That's where we are. How can I help others? How can I push this down, how can I, navigate my way through this and look to the guy that's in the chapter next to me, ahead of me, so I can learn and continue to help the guys with the chapter behind me. Because after what I did, I spent those 5 days in the hospital, and I tell you what, as painful as those 5 days were, they were so eye-opening, because depression, anxiety, loneliness, suicidal thoughts, all of those things know no boundaries. It's not prejudiced. It doesn't care about your age. It doesn't care about your occupation. There were 2 professionals in there, myself and another gentleman who works for a big corporation. And then there was people that just simply aren't going to get better in there. And it's an eye opener. God put you there for a reason, but it's one of those things that you have to want to take care of yourself and get better. So I'm here. I wanted to take this podcast. I wanted to let everybody know out there that I'm healthy. I feel good. I'm pursuing, what I need to do to get better. I would do anything in my power to not lose this relationship, but it has been, I can't handle that. That's not and sometimes all you can do is pray. So, what do I do from here? I got to, take care of some business. I got to find some, what do I want to do? So what do I do from here? So what do we do from here? What can you do from here? One day at a time, one step at a time, one prayer at a time. Saw a great podcast, or not a podcast, but I saw Kevin Queen with Crosspoint TV yesterday, and he says prayer is important, but prayers from others are just as important. So prayers that I have received from all these people, I could feel them, and I appreciate them. And my prayers myself have changed, as far as how I pray to God and how I do that. A lot of things have changed. So, so how do you get it out there? How do you help other people? You got to do some self-promotion. So I've never really got involved in my YouTube channel as much as I have now, even though it's one of those things I told myself I needed to do with the Barcade and the Barcade Music Festival and all those other things that I've been trying to accomplish. And I think that was another issue too. In a relationship, I was told many times by her that she didn't want to, and I have a feeling this is where we're going here. I was pursuing my dreams hard. I was still doing hair, then pursuing a real estate career that really hadn't taken off yet. I was trying and putting out there, and then other things, and then the Barcade Music Festival. I already said that, didn't I? No, I said. So I think this is where we're going here. I think we're going here because this is one of the red flags I should have paid attention to. That I think she got mad about supporting me and my dreams while she was working her butt off in her job, doing very well and basically supporting the family. And I get it. And I thought things were fine with it while I was getting things kind of like hair business was growing and real estate was trying to come around, and then the Barcade Music Festival. And I think that's where she, let's talk about it. It's just a relationship. When you got one person pursuing a dream and another one's that's working its butt off, I think it takes its toll. And I think it took its toll. After our ski trip, those ski trips aren't inexpensive. So when we got back, I think she was like, you know what, you could tell there was some irritation. And then of course, what happened on that Sunday night during the football games and stuff. And after everybody left, there's no excuse at all. And so here we are. And what has happened in a month? It's hard to describe. In a month, I did the first podcast, which was a shock, trying to get my head wrapped around it. And then of course, all the criticism. Then, taking a couple of weeks to try and figure out where I'm going to live. I was bouncing around hotel rooms, trying to figure out what to do. Do I want to live? Do I want to die? I can't live without her, And then that's another thing too, we can go on a whole complete tangent about as far as finding your identity in yourself, not in someone else. And I'm not going to say that I've had my whole identity wrapped up into this marriage, but when you're that into a relationship, it's hard to understand that it's over. It really is. And I'm not the only one that's going through this or has gone through it. So it is hard. So I'm not going to be upset about being upset about it. I'm tired of I'm tired of I'm tired of hurting myself and being mad at myself for being upset about it. But, for the 2 weeks bouncing around hotels, then, just driving off to Destin and then having some time at the beach and then coming back and then doing what I did after all that time of trying to get right and healthy in my mind and having and surrounding myself with all these people, having a place to rest my head, having a place to take a shower, having a place to be. It could have been a lot worse, but in my mind, I couldn't do it anymore. So I did what I did, and I did it in grand fashion. And 5 days later, I'm out and I'm reaching out to Greg. I said, we got to do this, man. It came to my mind. We got to get this out there so we can help other people. And so that's what we tried to do. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. So we're going to continue pursuing surviving suicide and all the crap in between, but we're going to add other elements to it, bring some people, some professionals in that can talk about various things in depression and anxiety. Because believe me, I know nothing about it. I just learned about it over the last 4 years and mostly in these last 2 years to try and understand it, because it's an interesting phenomenon how you can have everything. It looks like you got everything worked out. You got everything in life. You don't work. You have kids. You got a husband that does great, but yet you can be crying and bawling in a second because you're depressed. And you're like, I grew up differently. I grew up like, get over it. What's wrong with you? Quit being a sissy. I'll give you something to cry about. And a lot of us grew up that way. But understanding depression now, and it's such a common thing now. And so I do not understand it. But I know it's real. I know I've lived it. And anxiety and how they all intertwine with each other. Loneliness and how those two can create a loneliness when there's really not a loneliness at all. You have all kinds of people at your disposal. And family and friends that do love you and do care about you. And then how all that can lead into suicide thoughts. There's one thing to think about it. Then there's one thing to act upon it. And then surviving it is a whole other thing. But I came out of it as a different person. Who I was prior to putting that around my neck to who I am right now is a whole different person. And that is a godsend change upon me that I needed to go through to understand what needs to be taken care of. Period. Am I a better person? Yes. Am I here to help other people? Yes. And how do I do that? Well, I'm going to need to do it through self-promotion by using social media and writing a book and helping other people understand that they're not alone, because this is an epidemic. And I have to do like a fact check on myself, because I said yesterday with Greg that that depression and anxiety started raising to new levels in 2010 at the start of Facebook, but actually Facebook started around 2004, 2006. So I don't know if that's the fact check, but the point being is once social media hit, that's when depression, anxiety, and all those issues really started rising. Because how many hours do we scroll? How many hours do we do? And we even do that when we're sitting at the house. Think about this. You're at one end of the couch, I'm at the other end of the couch, and what are we doing? The TV's on and we're scrolling through social media. Great time to talk if you wanted to about your days, but this is, so again, I want to try and tackle domestic issues. And I know that Greg is telling me, he goes, that's kind of out of your bailiwick, other than the fact that you've experienced what you've experienced. And here's where I'm grasping issues. Domestic issues, I don't know. Let me talk about it for a second. Okay, that's a relationship issue and how you guys get along. You immediately, when you say domestic issues, it kind of has a negative connotation, like there's some sort of argument, some sort of fighting. But does it have to be that way? Does it have to be that arguing and fighting? And no. But other than the daily grind of a relationship and the communication, and I tell you what, there's nothing better than to be done with work and to go home and see 3 dogs barking at you and a wife that says hello in a certain way, and you're just excited to be home, and then that gone. And I always told myself I never want to not know what that feels like, but I do now. So how do I take away from that? How do I take that information and that experience and make it good? I don't know. And that's the journey I'm on right now. And like Greg had said yesterday, do you remember what you said? Yep. You said that's the great part of the journey, is the unknown part of the journey. And that's exciting and also pretty scary because you don't know where it's going to go, but you have the greatest intentions to make it what you need it to be.